Hello Thrivers. Today I am talking about what to do and what not to do after a breakup. So I'm just diving in today. So when it comes to what not to do, and I'm actually going to tell you things that I see happen all the time. The first thing that a lot of people do is they ask themselves this question: will he or she be happy with the next person? Why is that something you should not do? If it was a healthy relationship and it just ended for whatever reason, that would be a normal question to ask, or wonder. In fact, most people would hope that their ex would be happy with the next person. But if you've been in a relationship with somebody that is manipulative, that question isn't healthy for you to ask, because really what I hear when somebody asks that is, I wasn't enough to make them happy, but can they be happy with someone else? In other words, if they can be happy with someone else, the person that's asking might feel that in some way there's a deficit in them. And that's not the case. The second thing you do not want to do is you do not want to put all of your attention on the other person. Okay, and I know this is a lot easier said than done, but trust me, we're going to get to the part where I tell you what you can do that is more effective, okay? But when you're putting all of your thoughts on the other person, it could be in the form of ruminating, right? Where you're going over the past over and over, and you're thinking about this scenario, you're thinking about that scenario. And the truth is, no matter how much you think about those scenarios, no matter how often you play them out in your head, there never is a resolution. There never is a finalization with what happened. Especially if you were dealing with a manipulative person. A lot of the things that happened were probably things that make no sense. And so to be spending time on that, it only gets your brain addicted to rumination. And the third thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to internalize the way that person treated you. So, for example, if they were constantly criticizing in the relationship, they were criticizing your appearance, are you now criticizing how you look? If they were constantly putting you down, are you putting yourself down? If they were telling you that you're going to fail at everything, have you stopped even trying? Sometimes it's almost like a toxic person sees you as who you're not. In fact, oftentimes they're really just projecting themselves onto you. But they leave, and it's almost like they leave their glasses behind, and you put them on, and you start seeing yourself through their false perception of you. Do not post on social media indirectly as if trying to insinuate that they are the one that caused all the problems in the relationship. Sometimes people think, oh look, I posted indirectly about him or her, and they think that they got one over on the person. But the truth is that a toxic person, somebody that's manipulative, will only look at that and be like, wow, I'm so powerful, she or he can't even post without thinking of me. Or she or he is still so bitter and resentful that they have to constantly be trying to jab me online. Wow, that's pretty powerful of me to keep him or her unhappy, even though we're not even in a relationship anymore. Don't try to convince people of the truth if you're dealing with a toxic person. Remember, if you're dealing with a manipulator, they know how to present things in a way that can fool almost anybody. I remember a psychologist was talking about people that are malignant narcissists, and they said they can take this white wall behind me and convince you that it's really yellow, and you actually start thinking, wow, maybe there's something wrong with my eyes, maybe it is yellow and there's something wrong with me. So my point is the more you try to convince people of the truth, the more you look like the problem. So those are some things to not do. They only keep you in a disempowered place, and they keep you from moving on and, finding happiness inside. So what should you do? Okay, I could say, well, just be more confident. Love yourself. I could say that, but I know that it's a lot harder if you've been in relationships that are manipulative. And telling somebody, be confident, have self-love, is like trying to tell a blind person to see color when you're still at that place where you're healing and maybe the discard is new, right? Or the breakup is new. So here are some helpful tips that are really tailored to people that have been through manipulative relationships. Okay, number one, what you should do, and honestly, this should be a daily thing. I talk about this with my clients. I talk about this in my online workshop, but you have to get your nervous system calm. And one of the ways you can do that is with diaphragmatic breaths, okay? But you have to do it right. It's not just about breathing. It's not just about inhaling and making the exhale longer. Yes, that's part of it. But if you don't do it properly, in other words, with each inhale, if your chest is still rising and your abdomen, then you're not doing it right. So it might take a little bit for you to learn how to do it properly, but it should be something as soon as you wake up, calm your nervous system with 2 to 3 breaths. That's all it takes before you eat and before you go to sleep. Start training your nervous system to be in the parasympathetic state, because life with somebody toxic and manipulative has trained your body to live in the sympathetic state. And trying to heal emotionally when your body is totally stressed out, stuck in fight or flight, stuck in survival, it's going to be hard, if not impossible. So that's something that should be a daily part of your routine. The second thing you should do is something that, it sounds a little weird, okay? It sounds like silly and like, is this really going to work? Is this really going to be helpful? But I promise you, if you try it, you will start to see a change. And it's about provoking in your body positive feelings, okay? What does that mean? If the breakup is new, right, you're probably feeling some really intense negative emotions like depression, sadness, resentment, anger. There's a lot going on, right? And those negative states are hard to break out of. And sometimes we wait for our body to feel better so that we can then say, oh, look, I'm feeling better. But that can sometimes take a long time if you've been through emotional abuse or emotional trauma. So, something that some people do is they start provoking it in their body. For example, I had one client who was made to feel really bad about her physical appearance by her toxic mother. Okay, I know this isn't a breakup, like an intimate relationship breakup, but she wound up having to go no contact with her mother. So in a way, it's similar. And so she grew up hating her physical appearance, and she couldn't ever feel good about how she looked. And she was kind of waiting for her body to kind of catch on to logic, right? Like, I'm allowed to view myself as beautiful. I'm allowed to see good things in myself. Logically, she knew that, but her body was on a different program. So if she waited for her body to feel ready, to feel differently, it was never going to happen. What she did was she began provoking it in her body. How? She played that song, If I Was You by Meghan Trainor, and she'd look at herself in the mirror, dance, smack her booty, act silly, and it would crack her up afterward. So her physical appearance, or how she started to see herself, began to change after she physically provoked different feelings about herself in her body. I cannot tell you how powerful that is. It's kind of one of those things where if I make a cake and I'm sitting here eating it, I could be like, wow, guys, this is amazing. This is delicious. And you might believe me, but you don't really, really believe it until you taste it, right? And then you can be in full agreement with me. This is one of those things you're going to have to try in your house, on your own, provoking those emotions in you, and then you can see if it works. So sometimes what I tell people is people tend to start the day feeling in the same negative state that they were feeling the day before. And if that's not how you want to feel, if that's not the emotional state you want to be in, ask yourself, what emotional state do I even want to be in? And then what can I do in the morning to provoke that emotion in my body? So if you want to feel passion, what would that look like? What silly thing can you do with your body? Whether it's jumping up and down, spinning around, clicking your heels together, whatever it is, find what you can do so that you provoke a different feeling in your body. If you do this consistently, you will start to see that your negative emotional states that have become habits start to break down. The next thing that I recommend that you do is make a list of all the good qualities that you displayed in the relationship. Make a list of all the things you did to try to make the relationship work. Make a list of all the things you're proud of, even though they went unnoticed in the relationship. This is really powerful because you now validate your worth. You're seeing the kind of person you are. And especially if you were invalidated for all of those things, you start to heal that. And you start to stay focused on how you see yourself and not how the other person sees you. And my last tip, and of course this is not an all-inclusive list, there are tons of things that help after a breakup. But just to get you started, I wanted to give you a few tips. The next is to make a playlist on your phone, right? This is our new, back in the day when I was a teenager, we made ourselves tapes, right? Our tapes for our car. God, and I'm totally showing my age right now, but that's what we did. We had our different tapes, right, for our moods. Well, now we got playlists, and you can make a playlist of all empowering songs. In fact, empowering songs only. No songs that make you sad. In fact, if you're still watching this video at this point, I would love to hear what your empowerment songs are. Make sure you let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, the truth is that if you've been in a relationship with somebody that takes and you have to always give, the reality is that you've probably stopped taking care of yourself. You probably revolved around the other person for a really long time. Start looking at little ways that you can start to take care of yourself. All of that is self-love. It could start with small things. I had one client who would never brush her hair. And the reason she didn't brush her hair was because, anytime she was giving attention to herself, she was made to feel selfish or like she was a bad person. She wasn't doing something else. So done consistently over a long period of time, her brain associated doing for herself with selfishness. And then even after that relationship was over, that paired association was still in play in her mind. To break that paired association, she began to do the provoking a different feeling in your body. So she would brush her hair, right? And the feelings would come up of being selfish. And then she would dance. She would do a dance. She would flick her hair back and forth. She would blow a kiss at herself in the mirror. She would do something silly that started to break that paired association. And now she loves to take care of herself. She realizes that it's perfectly normal and that she's not a bad person doing that. So I hope these tips help. Again, I'm going to look for your empowerment songs below. And just a quick reminder, if you're looking for support to help you in this difficult time and you can't afford one-on-one coaching, my 3-month online workshop, which is Breakthrough CPTSD, starts in just a couple of weeks. It's 2 hours a week for 12 weeks, and we work through the healing process in a small group of fellow survivors. So I'll leave the link here for you to check out and see if it's a good fit for you.